Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating, the last 100 years or so of studying bird behavior.
Yeah, it's a field that's seen some, well, pretty dramatic shifts in how we even think about birds.
Absolutely. And we've got some great sources to guide us, historical views, stuff on communication, mating dances, even a funny Reddit thread, and some research from zoos.
Right. So the mission today is sort of to unpack how our understanding has, taken flight. From just watching them to figuring out the why behind it all.
Exactly. Because it wasn't always about the why, was it? Initially, it was more about just describing.
Totally.
Yeah.
You look back, and people have always watched birds, obviously. Aristotle was noting things down centuries ago.
And then you have figures like Johann Pernauer in the 17th century actually keeping birds and writing about what they did.
Right. And Gilbert White in England, his detailed accounts of local birds in the 18th century, that was pure natural history, just observing, recording.
It was all about cataloging, wasn't it? What they ate, where they nested, the basic facts.
Pretty much. Providing that essential raw material, you could say. The groundwork.
But then things started to change. Late 19th, early 20th century, people started asking why more.
Exactly. You get folks like Edmund Selous, John James Audubon. They weren't just describing, they were trying to find explanations.
And that's where things like ornithological journals became super important, right?
Yeah.
Like British Bird.
Oh, definitely. That was crucial for sharing ideas. Those first reports of tits opening milk bottles or early studies tracking seabirds.
Yeah.
That's where that stuff got out.
It signifies that move towards, well, more systematic study, maybe even early experiments.
Yeah, the beginnings of it. The milk bottle thing, for instance, it wasn't just a curiosity. It sparked real research into how birds learn and adapt. Still does, actually.
Okay, so building on that, birds became really important model species, didn't they?
Hugely important. The idea was, by studying one species really, really intensely.
You could learn things that apply more broadly to other animals, maybe even, basic biology.
Precisely. Single species studies let you get into the nitty-gritty details you just can't, with broader comparisons. The specific pressures, the social stuff.
And that deep understanding has practical uses too, right? Like wildlife management, conservation.
Absolutely. Knowing the specifics helps you manage populations, monitor environmental health. It's not just academic.
Right. So speaking of specifics, let's dig into foraging. This idea of optimal foraging.
Ah, yes. The theory that birds, well, they behave efficiently. They try to get the most food for the least effort.
Like those studies on great tits choosing the better food patch.
Exactly. In controlled settings, they reliably went for the richer option. But you see it in the wild, too.
Like the northern lapwings choosing worm sizes.
Perfect example. They don't just grab any worm. If smaller ones are easy and plentiful, they might ignore bigger ones that take too much effort to pull out. It's a cost-benefit calculation.
So they're constantly weighing things up. Smart.
Very. They're optimizing. And it gets even more complex. Think about caching.
Oh, like the common ravens. Hiding food.
Yeah, but they don't just hide it anywhere. Studies show they actually pay attention to whether other ravens are watching them.
Seriously, so they adjust their hiding strategy based on potential thieves.
It seems so.
Yeah.
Which suggests, a surprising level of social awareness tied into something as basic as storing food.
Wow. Okay, that's foraging. Now, let's get into the flashy stuff. Sexual selection, mating.
Yes. Some birds put on quite a show.
Like barn swallows. The males with the longer tail streamers, females seem to love those.
They do. And Anders Muller's experiments really nailed this. He actually cut and lengthened tails.
He did, and what happened?
Females consistently preferred the males with artificially elongated tails. And the ones with shortened tails had less success.
So why? What's the deal with the long tails?
Well, the Hamilton-Zook hypothesis suggests these fancy ornaments are honest signals of quality. Meaning they indicate good genes, maybe resistance to parasites or disease. Miller found that long-tailed males did have fewer parasites.
So it's not just looks, it's like a health indicator.
Pretty much. An honest advertisement saying, hey, I've got good genes, I'm healthy.
Like an avian health certificate flapping behind them.
You could put it that way. And this ties into mating systems, which, well, they're not always simple.
Right, it's not always one male, one female happiness, is it?
Not by a long shot. Social monogamy is common, sure, where a pair stays together. But genetically, things can be more complicated.
You mean like polygyny, one male, multiple females?
Yep, or polyandry, one female, multiple males. Even polygynity, where multiple males and females are all sort of involved.
Wow. Are there examples?
Dunnocks are a classic case. Their whole social system, monogamy, polygyny, polyandry, can actually change depending on how much food is around.
Really? So resources dictate the mating system?
To a large extent, yes. It fits models like the polygyny threshold model. Basically, sometimes a female might do better being the second mate of a male on great territory rather than the only mate of a male on poor territory.
Okay, weighing the options. And what about those seemingly monogamous pairs? Any secrets there?
Oh, plenty. Extra pair mating is surprisingly common. Take those barn swallows again.
Yeah.
A female might be paired with a male with shorter tails, but she might sneak off for a liaison with a long-tailed neighbor.
No way. To get better genes for her chicks.
That's the thinking. It means the social father isn't always the genetic father. A bit of avian drama.
Definitely sounds like it. Okay, moving from drama to maybe something nicer, cooperation. Seems odd in a survival of the fittest world.
It does seem counterintuitive at first, but Hamilton's theory of inclusive fitness helps explain it. The idea that you can pass on your genes not just by reproducing yourself, but by helping relatives who share your genes survive and reproduce.
Ah, so helping your siblings or cousins raise their kids helps your own genes in a way.
Exactly. Kin selection. We see it a lot in birds.
Like those bee-eaters, white-fronted and European.
Yep, and long-tailed tits, too. Often, young birds that haven't bred yet or non-breeding adults will act as helpers at the nest, feeding chicks that are close relatives.
Like a family team effort.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But it's not always harmonious.
Oh, conflict too.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Within families, there can be competition. And in some species, like those European bee-eaters, dominant birds might actually harass younger pairs, almost forcing them to give up breeding and become helpers instead.
Wow, okay. So manipulation can be involved too.
It can. Cooperation isn't always purely voluntary or altruistic.
Right. Let's switch gears a bit to communication. Birdsong is maybe the most obvious form.
Absolutely. And the study of how they learn songs is fascinating. Work by Thorpe on chaffinches, Peter Marler on white-crowned sparrows. That was groundbreaking.
What did they find? Is it all innate or learned?
It's a mix. There's an innate template, a predisposition to learn their own species song, but they have to hear it during a critical period early in life.
And practice it.
And practice. They listen, they babble, they refine it, so it's learning guided by instinct.
Okay. And what's the song for? Just sounding pretty.
Hardly. It serves crucial dual functions, usually, a territory defense.
Like a keep out sign for other males?
Exactly. And mate attraction, showing off for the females.
Do more complex songs work better?
Often, yes. Species like great tits or common nightingales can have huge repertoires. More songs might signal an older, more experienced, or healthier male.
So females are listening in, judging the performance.
Definitely. Studies show female great tits pay close attention, and males listen too. Things like song matching, singing the same song type back at arrival, can be a direct challenge.
It's a whole complex social signaling system then.
Absolutely. And it's not just sound, remember. Visual communication is huge too.
Right, like the herring gull chick pecking the red spot on the parent's bill.
Classic example. That visual cue triggers feeding. But think also about courtship displays.
Oh yeah, the dances. Some are incredible.
Totally. The Vogelkopf La Farina, red-crowned cranes doing those synchronized dances, waved albatrosses with their bill-clacking routines.
They're so elaborate.
They are. Crucial for species recognition, finding the right mate, assessing fitness. It's all communication.
And what about things like bowers, like the great bowerbird?
Another fantastic example of visual signaling. The male builds this structure, meticulously decorates it with specific colored objects. It's all to impress females. The bower itself is the signal.
Incredible. It really does make our dancing look clumsy sometimes.
Doesn't it just? Okay, so communication. What about navigation? How do they find their way across continents?
Yeah, migration is mind-boggling. Those early experiments moving seabirds hundreds of miles.
Right, displacing Manx shearwaters or European storm petrels. They showed amazing homing ability. But how they did it was a puzzle for ages.
So what have we learned since then?
A lot, thanks to things like Emlyn funnels, testing orientation in cages, and especially modern tracking tech like GPS tags.
And what cues are they using? Is it the sun, stars?
It seems to be a combination. Many use the sun, the stars, for a sort of compass. There's strong evidence for a magnetic sense, detecting the Earth's magnetic field.
A magnetic sense, wow.
Yeah, and potentially even some kind of map sense, maybe based on landmarks or even smells over familiar areas. Still lots to learn there.
And they can adapt too, right? Like those black caps changing their migration routes.
Exactly. The ones that started wintering in Britain instead of Spain, likely due to milder winters and bird feeders, that shows the migratory patterns aren't totally fixed. They can evolve relatively quickly.
Amazing. Built-in GPS with updates?
Something like that.
Hmm.
But, our understanding isn't just about the birds themselves anymore. There's a growing focus on how we affect them.
Ah, human impact. Yeah, that's unavoidable, I guess.
Sadly, yes. Research is increasingly looking at things like pollution effects. The studies on barn swallows near Chernobyl are pretty sobering.
And climate change must be a big one.
Huge. Affecting breeding times, food availability, survival rates. Long-term studies, like Meller's ongoing work on barn swallows since the 70s, are absolutely vital for tracking these changes.
So bird behavior studies are becoming key environmental indicators.
Definitely. They give us real-world data on the health of ecosystems and the consequences of our actions. It's very applied science now.
And speaking of applied science and understanding birds, zoos are playing a bigger role now too, aren't they?
Yes, increasingly so, especially in areas like animal cognition. Zoos offer a chance to study diverse species up close, in controlled ways you often can't in the wild.
Are there challenges, though, like small numbers of animals?
There, sample sizes can be small, and you absolutely have to prioritize the animal's welfare, minimize stress, but the potential is huge.
Like that study on neophobia and hornbills, fear of new things.
Exactly. A great example from Bird World Zoo. Simple experiments, non-invasive, just seeing how quickly hornbills approached food when a new object or different food type was nearby.
And what did they find?
They showed clear sensitivity, hesitation towards novelty, which gives practical insights for zoos, like how important it is to introduce changes gradually to their environment.
Makes sense. And you could maybe combine data from multiple zoos.
That's a key strategy, yes. Multi-zoo collaborations can overcome the small sample size issue and give us much more robust findings.
So it helps the animals in zoos and boosts our scientific knowledge.
And public education, too. Showcasing the cognitive abilities of these animals helps people appreciate them more.
Good point. Okay, finally, let's loop back to those dancing birds. We talked about the amazing real courtship displays.
Right, the cranes, the albatrosses.
But then there's that Reddit thread about parakeets dancing.
Ah, yes. A funny reminder about anthropomorphism, wasn't it?
How so?
Well, the video showed parakeets doing these head-bobbing, sidestepping moves. People were calling it dancing, saying it was cute.
But it wasn't dancing.
Not in our sense. Knowledgeable folks quickly pointed out it was pretty standard mating behavior courtship displays. Maybe a bit awkward in that instance, but biological, not recreational.
So we see dancing, they see, well, something else entirely.
Exactly. It highlights how easily we project our own interpretations onto animal behavior, sometimes missing the real biological meaning. Context is key.
A good lesson. So looking back over this whole journey, our understanding really has evolved massively.
Oh, absolutely. From just describing what to really digging into the why and how, foraging strategies, complex mating decisions, communication, navigation. It's incredibly deep.
And increasingly relevant to us with conservation and environmental change.
Definitely. Birds are like windows into ecological processes and sentinels for environmental health.
So maybe a final thought for people listening. Think about that bird singing outside your window.
Yeah, after all this, it's not just a random noise, is it?
Right. Is it defending territory? Trying to attract a mate? Sending a message we barely understand?
It invites that curiosity, doesn't it? To keep observing, keep questioning. There's still so much we don't know about these amazing creatures.
It really deepens your appreciation.
It does. It reminds you of the complexity and sophistication out there, right in our backyards or parks.
So if you're keen to learn more, maybe check out some of those journals, or look up researchers like Lack, Tinbergen, Hamilton, Muller.
Or just, visit a local nature spot, or even a zoo with fresh eyes. Pay attention to the behaviors.
Absolutely. The learning really never stops. Thanks for this deep dive today.
My pleasure. It's always fascinating to talk about.